Talk, if you're a beginner trying to learn how to make beats quickly, easily, and consistently, you're not going to learn it from the video you're about to watch.
So he's paying to tell viewers that my videos are unhelpful before people can even watch them. The update is that they're getting worse. What's going down, everyone? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. This is, I think it's episode 118. 118 could have been a 90s R&B group name. It just wasn't. Maybe in a parallel universe it is. They just added an extra member to 112. Tevin Campbell decided, I don't know. That would actually be a cool super group. Anyway, how are the two of you feeling? Erin stuck around. She mandated a much cleaner, more family friendly show, but other than that, she stuck around. That was her only contingent.
That's on me. I'm just trying not to curse. It's not y'all. Y'all already have a family friendly show. I just have.
Yeah, it's friendly if your family's dysfunctional, I guess.
Well, Erin is glowing today. She must have drank all her water. Maybe the shirt. I'm not sure, but the skin is glowing.
Yeah, I got my hair retwisted. You know, it's all, hair retwisted. All the black girl magic that's happening. That's what you're seeing.
There you go. Drinking her green juices and water. Dope. But we got I think it's going to be a dope show. I'm excited to talk about the thing. Well, we're going to jump into the Karen Civil, Joyner Lucas drama that happened over the weekend. Just a couple of updates. 1 week notice is finally starting to drop. You're hearing this on Monday. So today, the first episode of the documentary will be released on Revolt's channel. I've been working on 1 week notice. It seems like forever now, at least a year though. I've been wanting to do another one. This is the second project of 1 week notice. I did the first one in 2018. The first episode of the documentary will drop, and then we'll start releasing the music a week after this one. So next Monday, a single will drop, and then every Monday after that, a single will drop as the episodes premiere on Revolt's channel. So I'm super excited about that. Pain and Dream Life produced pretty much 90% of the album. And the artist killed it. I mean, I'm biased. Obviously, I put these artists together, so I knew that it would be something that I personally would like. But I think the album is amazing. Like
it's fire. It's fire. I don't like music, and you sent it to me. Well, I love music, but I don't like what people send. You sent it, and I was like, "Oh, this is dope."
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you agree. Payne, you said I don't know how much of the music you've listened to. But I really think it's a dope compilation album, and to be put together in a week, I think it was pretty damn amazing. So I'm looking forward to doing the next one. Although, that probably won't be till late next year or something like that. But anyway, 1 week notice finally out. It's going to continue to drop. And I'm, if you guys have any feedback, please shoot it my way. If you like it, please share it. I'd appreciate it. But Payne, you wanted to jump into something before we talked about the Joyner Karen drama.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. I'm just going to share this.
We don't have to. So I don't want to.
I know you don't. I don't. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to have to even experience this. But these ads, they're running on my channel. So I was on my own channel seeing these ads, and I just quickly grabbed my phone and just filmed a couple seconds of the ad. It's the intro that really got me. Let me just share my screen quick.
Talk, if you're a beginner trying to learn how to make beats quickly, easily, and consistently, you're not going to learn it from the video you're about to watch. Trust me, I've seen a ton of them. But if you give me 30 seconds, I'm going to show you the best way to learn how to make beats without hassle, frustration, or guesswork, even if you don't know nothing about music.
Okay, so let me stop there because, I don't need them to get off their sales pitch.
Who is that? I mean, not the lady, but who is running this ad?
Oh, you can't say it. That's free promo.
Nah, I'm about to blast them. I don't
know who it is. It's some new website. I don't think the people that run these ads. I mean, obviously KE is an established brand. People know who KE is. I think the consensus in the producer community is that he's fallen from grace because his ads are so abhorrent. disgusting. And it seems like that's a trend. I'm seeing it with like the drop shipping people where, you'll watch a video and the drop shipping people are advertising to everybody. They don't discriminate. Anyone can pay them $8,000 to learn the ropes of Amazon FBA and all that stuff. And it's very similar formats. Remember how when all that stuff started, it was like, do you want to make income from home easily? It was those kinds of typical sleazy ads. And now there's so much competition among them that they've resorted to cutting each other's throats, where it's like the wrong thing to do. If you try to make money on the internet, the last thing you should be doing is checking out Amazon FBA, and the last thing you should be doing is starting another drop shipping company. That moved over to the producer community. So now if you're about to watch a producer video, you see an ad saying the producer video you're about to watch is trash. It's not going to help you. Instead, click on my link. Don't watch this video that you came to see. Click on my link and give me a bunch of money so I can teach you I don't know, this advertisement didn't do anything but give you a chart, the circle of fifths, which is available free everywhere anyway. Because I actually clicked on it. I was curious. And of course, it ends up being a funnel ad where they funnel you towards purchasing, I think, even more PDF files about chords, which is really the same stuff you learn on these YouTube videos anyway. So I don't have a problem with them claiming that their beat making guide will work. My problem is that they're claiming other people's beat tutorials won't work. And he's targeting my channel. So he's paying to tell viewers that my videos are unhelpful before people can even watch them. And that instead of watching my videos, you should buy his $24.99 guide on how to program chords in FL Studio, which you can learn to do for free with much better teachers on YouTube, especially if you're one of those people that's a visual learner. And incidentally, you know how many great producers and beat makers have learned how to make beats from YouTube videos? I would say probably 90% of the new generation, maybe more. So this negative selling angle has to be working because so many people are doing it, and I'm worried about what's coming next. It's hate is selling now in the producer community. I don't think these are people that care about the producer community. I'm not going to see Curtis King do something like that. I'm not going to see I'm not going to see Simon Servita do this, but these people that just want to make quick money off a community that they're lying to, they're going to do whatever they possibly can to make a dollar.
I mean, I wouldn't just make an assumption that it's working. I mean, cats could just be getting desperate, like
exactly.
And it ran just on your channel, and obviously it struck a chord with you because you're like, "Hey, my content is solid. Like, why are you doing this?" But I wouldn't necessarily say it's working.
Wait a minute, KE has a Malibu mansion and a Lamborghini.
It could be working for KE. It's not. It doesn't mean it's working for all these other people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't make the assumption that it's working. I mean, a lot of people lower their integrity for $1. That's not what this podcast is about. It's not what the MEC is about. Like, hating doesn't really get. I don't know of that many successful people that are out just hating on other people and winning. Like, that just not really a thing. You might catch somebody here or there, but it's not in the formula for success for most people.
No, and it's frustrating when something does happen where, I know we've had this talk before where we'll see an exception to a rule that's true 99% of the time where, we'll say something to the effect of, being negative, trolling, hating, that doesn't work. And then someone will always say, what about 6ix9ine? It's like, okay, that did work.
50 Cent,
or 50 Cent, but granted, 50 Cent had amazing music.
Yeah.
And amazing business strategy.
And a reputable career before he started being, and he's like propped up enough to where he could just hate. It's just almost like being an old man. It's like, okay, you can hate.
Yeah, and it's like someone with 100 Twitter followers thinks, oh, I'm just going to disrespect everybody and I'm going to become the next Empire Star, G Unit mogul. Like, come on, man. No, you're not.
You see, TMZ just went out of business.
Yeah. I mean, let's get to the Karen Civil, because I don't really think there's much learning from this.
Speaking of negative situations,
I think the positive from this is that Payne is getting paid when people are hating on him. That's what I think is the takeaway.
There you go.
I didn't even think of it. See, Aaron, this is why we need your energy here. That makes me
think
feel
it's
good.
dope. I love it. I think that person is foolish. They're hating on you. The person's gonna skip the ad, watch your video. You're getting paid, and it's adding credibility to your channel.
There you go. It's a win for you, Payne, to look at it like that.
All right, yeah. All right. That shifts my perspective a lot.
So over the weekend, there was a ton of Clubhouse drama. Karen Civil was back in trending on Twitter about her supposedly shady business tactics. I guess just to bring everybody up to speed, I guess there was a lawsuit between, Karen Civil is, I don't know what you would call her. She's been in the music industry for a while. She's kind of rose up through the ranks. She was an assistant for big acts, I think like Dipset. So she's been around for like a long time. And then she was like a brand ambassador or like a brand expert marketing. I'm not exactly sure what you would call her, but she supposedly kind of makes things happen. She's worked for a lot of brands. I think she worked for Beats. And she knows a shitload of artists and has been in the industry for definitely well over a decade, maybe close to 2. So she was back in the news because there's a comedian named Jessie Wu. She filed some type of lawsuit. I don't know the details around the lawsuit between her and Jessie Wu, but Joyner Lucas took this opportunity because he also had a grievance with her stemming from an issue that's, I think, 7 years old now, in which he hired her for some services. And this was like the last bit of money that he had, because early on he had a private investor. So this was his last $60,000. He decided to bet on Karen Civil and make things happen. And apparently, from his perspective, he paid the $60,000. She didn't really do anything. And that's when kind of the drama started. So I know that Joyner has voiced his grievances earlier, I think like 2 years ago or like a year ago, but he took this opportunity, as a lot of people do on the internet. That's one of the things I want to talk about. Like, obviously, if you're just trying to win an argument and somebody's being put through the fire, and you take that as an opportunity to like put more on that to bring credibility to your argument. I guess I don't know how I feel about that, but he used this opportunity to kind of insert his situation and pour more fuel on the fire. I'm assuming you guys saw some of this. I'm not sure if you guys jumped into the Clubhouse conversation where he was actually talking directly to Karen Civil. Yeah. Did either of you catch any of that?
Nah.
I didn't. Give me a summary of that one, because I was in other Clubhouse rooms, but I got on late. Give me a summary of that one. I kind of want to know. They were in the room together?
Yeah. So they were talking to each other. Joyner was basically explaining what happened, basically what I just said. Like, this was his last $60,000 from this investor. His kid was about to be born. He was super passionate and kind of angry on the call. Understandably, if that's how this went down. But Karen basically said that the money was then like paid to subcontractors to do different types of things, mix show, different. And she says she has the receipts for it all. And that his manager should have the invoices for everything that she did for him. So basically that was what she said. So in my mind, like, if she shows him the invoices or the receipts for everything that she paid for, that should solve some of the problem. There's a lot of issues with this. So I want to just kind of take a step back. Obviously, Joyner was in a tough situation. He had tried, I think he said that the investor had already spent like $500,000 on various things, and, things weren't happening at that point. So I don't know where the 500,000 went. I don't know how you get an investor that's willing to put up 500,000. I mean, there are rich people that just want to be in the music industry and might have some bread that to spend. Let's start there, Aaron. Do you have any artists that just have an investor?
Not currently, but for sure. Like when I first started managing a band, like that's how I started in music, is rock music. First tour we went on, we got picked up for Warped Tour like 9 months into being a band. So I was like, hey, we're going to need like $35,000. We started raising the money and kind of doing shows, pooling our money, and we still didn't have enough. So we had, we ended up having an investor that was like, y'all are going on a tour. Y'all just started. They're like, we'll finance $15,000 for a percentage of your earnings. So I did that like literally a year into me being a manager. The second time was
wait, hold on, 15% of your earnings for how long? Just on that tour? Like what?
No, it was 15K, and then they took a percentage of the 15K. I think they wanted 10%. Yeah, I think we had to pay them $1,500 back. Like so, 16,500 we had to pay back.
Oh, but so it was just a loan. So this was just in the form of a loan. Like, hey, I'll give you guys 15,000. You guys give me a 15% return.
A 10%, yeah. So we left like, I think they gave it to us, like the tour started in June because Warped Tour runs all summer. So it goes June through August. So I think they gave it to us in May. And then like September, we had to give them $1,650 or like, so we actually slowly started paying it back throughout the tour. We were just giving it as we were selling merch. And then when we got back, we had like a month to give them $1,500. So like when I was younger, I didn't realize, I was like, this isn't really a lot of money, but that's a great return on investment. 10% across 4 months. Like I would take that investment any day. You know what I'm saying? Like that's super quick. But
were you guys already selling hella merch? Because
we
typically
were a baby band.
Yes, because typically any investment in an early artist is a risky ass investment.
Right.
Like, you know, there's no guarantee you're gonna get that money back. Did that person?
Warped Tour averages like 40,000 attendees a day, and we were on like one of the smaller stages, but we had a guaranteed play every day. So they were like, if you guys hustle, and then they knew me, they knew the lead singer, and they were like, yo, like we're banking on you to hustle, but if not, y'all all have day jobs. When you come back, you'll be on the hook for it. So we hustled.
Got you. Did your investor have any experience in music, or was this just like a family friend or something like that?
It was a family friend, and they were completely shocked that within 9 months we were on a national or an international tour, because it's 42 dates across the US and Canada. So they were like, you're doing something right. And they were right. Like I got into a music business conference. I was like determined to get in front of Kevin Lyman. We got in front of Kevin Lyman. I was like, you're going to come see my dudes perform tonight. He came, immediately put them on stage, and the investor was like, well, y'all have something. So
okay. So this is just kind of in the form of a loan. Obviously, these days, like an investor, the terms can vary, right? Like the terms can be something as simple as that, just kind of a loan, pay you back. Oftentimes, if people invest in artists, they want something similar to what a label would want, like some ownership, and for a certain amount of time, maybe forever. You just don't know. Like every situation, there's no blueprint to investors getting involved in music.
I had two more after that were basically similar, though. They didn't know anything about owning music or intellectual property. So they were like, the last time was $100,000, and I made them form a music holding LLC so that it was a little bit more responsible. But I ended up leaving the artist before the deal was like he had spent maybe 45,000 of it, and he was a dumbass, to be honest. And his ego was eating him alive. And so I just had to leave, and he's still in the same position. That was 5 years ago. So like,
I've seen that a million times.
I'm sure he's on the hook for it, because he wouldn't have stopped spending with the band after that tour. Same investor was impressed with what we had done. We got the money back to him. We didn't make a bunch more. But then we came back, and like, within a year, we were touring overseas. Then we did a music tech residency out in Oakland. And so we asked for an investment because we wanted to tour overseas. So he gave us I think $60,000, and then bought plane tickets overseas for the whole band to fly over and back. So total was like 70 something $1,000. After almost a year, we still had half the investment. We had recorded an album, we had toured. You know what I'm saying? We were very, very frugal with it. The guys wanted to live off of it. And I'm like, if I'm not living off of it, y'all can't live off of it. And so it ended up working out. Same thing as it was getting towards the end of it. I saw them getting lazy because they just felt like everything was coming to them. So I was like, this isn't for me. There's been no progress. You guys just want to smoke weed and like hang out. So I ended up leaving. And I think they went back to re-up on it. Same thing, they're in the same position. So a lot of times I recognize that when investors come around, it's because they want to invest in me. So because of that, I took that business model when I started my label. I got investors for that super easy because I'm like, I've done it 3 times. Here's my proof of concept. I've been in the industry 9 years. I hit 10 years this week. And like, yeah, my investors are like very excited with what they're looking at making over the next 2 years. So
nice. So it can work out. Obviously you're not just taking money to take money. Like you have a plan. Even that initial band that you work with, you were going on tour, you were confident you guys were going to be able to pay it back. So it can work out positively. I've heard a lot of horror stories as well. So you just have to be careful, get involved with the right people. But Joyner, going back to the Joyner Karen, because I have the memo of what he was supposed to get. So, right, he paid $60K, and it was weird that you would, if you had, so this is like 6 months of services. It's weird that you would pay upfront for a certain amount of services. Like you typically pay monthly for this type of project management type work. I don't even, so it's a combination of things. So it says blog placements for song releases, development and delivery of digital, facilitate interviews with media / publications, build fan engagement, articulate social content capturing, red carpet, event opportunities, iTunes, beats, music promotions, radio interviews, help acquire booking agent, and show openings. Does that suite of services sound, how does that suite of services sound to you? Have you ever heard of somebody that can offer all of those things? Are you skeptical of this suite of services? Any feedback on that?
I mean,
7 years ago, this was standard for a publicist to offer.
Right. But so have you ever paid upfront for 6 months worth of services at one time?
That's the crazy part to me. It's like clout is a hell of a drug. You know what I'm saying? Like, in what world would you pay 6 months for anything? You don't do that for your rent. You don't do it for your water bill. I like literally don't know anything that I would pay 6 months ahead of time, especially something as fickle as publicity. Like, you're going to get 1 month. I need to see what you're working with. You can get a 3-month commitment. We can sign a contract. But if you're not coming through month 1, it's a wrap. And that's happened to me 3 times over the course of my 10-year career. Artists were pushing. We hired a publicist. They had a 3-month commitment. Month 1, they didn't do anything. We got out. I can share my thoughts on publicity, but a month at max. Who's paying for 6 months of any? That's insane.
No. Please share your opinion on publicity, because you're right. It was standard. Did it work? I don't know. I didn't have money back during the heyday of publicity. When things transitioned over to blogs, that opened a whole new lane for publicists who could create these deals that included, blog placement, internet radio, satellite, all of these things that took advantage of the new music economy and the technological landscape and all of that. Sorry, I'm not supposed to curse. 60,000 though. I mean, I was seeing people charge maybe 100 for a song, and they would exploit their contacts. Granted, Soul and I did pay a publicist, and I think it was around 2,000, but that was a monthly fee. Did they do anything? No, we did everything. I mean, the couple looks that we got in the media, and they were bigger publications. They weren't just like Tom's Music Blogger. They were they were publications that had been around in print and then transitioned over to digital. But That wasn't even worth $2,000 had they gotten that for us. And I just haven't. I personally, I guess I'm jaded because I have not personally seen a publicist or a PR person, or I guess whatever title we're giving the people who offer what Karen Civil offers. I've not seen them be consistently successful, and it almost feels as though they don't do very much. It's kind of like they just pass the buck, like, pay me, I'm going to send out an email and say, hey, get this on some sites to, some contact that they know. Hey, I want you to interview this person. And you can pay for radio interviews all day, pay to play in the radio world. I don't believe Payola laws actually govern interviews. So legally you can do that. You can't actually pay for terrestrial radio play, though. That's something that's regulated by the federal government. I know people are going to say it's still happening, blah, blah, blah.
Allegedly,
you don't have any type of proof. You see weird stuff happening where...
No. I'm saying it's allegedly regulated by the federal.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's regulated to the extent that they found other ways to monetize it. But it's not like this weird... you don't go into some creepy underground cavern and cut your hand open and have the radio, the program director drink your blood. And it's not like people make it seem like this super nefarious thing is happening right out in the open. You're paying a intermediary who has the radio relationships, and that way you're not actually paying for radio play, which makes it even whacker, because, in my opinion, because again, it goes right back to this question of, can anyone guarantee successful PR, whether it's on the blogs, whether it's in the radio? You can't convince a PD just because this rapper paid you that the song could be trash. It could be the totally wrong format for the station. Just because they're in their ear doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything. These bloggers are fickle too. Every part of the PR world, as you said, Aaron, is fickle. And just because you got money from this person, and I think Karen Civil said she only kept upwards of 12,000 from, which is like, wait a minute. For 12,000,
20%, right?
That's a lot. And who knows, right? We didn't see the receipts.
But in defense of, I to be honest with you, I haven't really seen a PR company that I was super impressed with. At the same time, especially if you're an act that is not currently getting a lot of press, like, it's going to take time. So it's going to take time. You're not going to see results in a month. Like, and if somebody's guaranteeing you that, it's probably not true, right? So it takes a while to tell your story. Like, somebody could have relationships at all of these different platforms, and it's going to take more than a month to kind of tell your story. Even with Foundation, the distribution company that I work with, like, they really do have relationships with Spotify and Apple. Like, a lot of people claim that they do, but they don't. Like, we're pitching artists every single week, but we can't guarantee placement on placements, placements on playlists. So we tell them, like, hey, it's going to take some time. We got to continue to tell your story. We'll pitch the music this time. We might swing and miss, but at least we've got them on we've got you on their radar, so that the next single that comes around, we can update them with music, and hopefully you're doing work on your end, so we can tell them about the new tour you're doing, the new collabs you're doing, all the stuff, so that we continue to tell your story. So in defense of publicists, you shouldn't be telling people that you can do things right away. Now, there are certain relationships, even that I have at the time, where I could get a placement for you. Like, I'm not a publicist, but there are relationships where, like, yeah, we'll throw it up there, but you can't continue to milk that as a publicist. So that's not something that you should be guaranteeing to people, that you're gonna for sure get blog placements. What happened here was, like, Joyner saw how Karen Civil worked with other artists from afar and assumed that he was gonna get the same treatment, right? He even said it. He said, I wanted you to put your arm around me like you put your arm around Nipsey. He had no idea what exactly the role that she was playing in Nipsey's career. But from afar, it looked like she was pressing buttons, making things happen. And that's what he wanted. Like he didn't even know what was in this memo. Like he didn't. So this was just like a last swing, desperate attempt. Nothing else is working. I have a little bit more money. Karen Civil looks like she's on. The artist that she's works with is on. So I'm going to do this. And it just doesn't work. Like it's kind of like what Aaron said, and maybe this was what Karen was doing. Like it's kind of what Aaron said last week. It's like, you get one win, one super public win, and then you kind of market that as something that you can do all of the time over and over again. And it seems like Karen was exploiting that a bit, or a lot.
I can't even necessarily blame her. I just think the whole system, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying she's not at fault, but I think that like people are just so eager for that. Like to get press, you have to be impressive. That's it. So if you're a brand new baby artist, first of all, if you spent $500,000 with no results, the issue is you. Clearly. So like, granted, he's made it now, shout out bruh, for sure. But $500,000 and you haven't seen the buck move forward, you need a better business model. You know what I'm saying? Like you should be hiring thinkers and not creatives, because a publicist is just another creative. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he should have had like a business manager. He should have had a good product market fit. He should have been like, what problem am I solving in the market so that I can acquire fans? That's the issue. Artists don't treat their business like it's a business. Like if you have a coffee shop and you set up next to Starbucks, and you have no, like, why would I drink there if I don't know? And I don't like Starbucks at all. Coffee is trash. Their business model is coffee for the non-coffee drinker, right? But if you own a sip and smoke and you're like, my target audience is stoners. I don't care about this corporate BS. I want you to be able to come in my shop and try coffee that goes well with cigars or goes well with weed. And we have after hours parties. Now you're not even competing with Starbucks. You have a whole new clientele. It doesn't matter that y'all are right next to each other, which is why Burger King and McDonald's can sit on the same corner. You know what I'm saying? Two different crowds. But so I think there's a lot of problems. I think there's a ton of ignorance. I think there's a ton of clout chasing. You know what I'm saying? Like $60,000 because you saw her with Nipsey, you know what I'm saying? But I also think there's a lack of due diligence. Like you need to say, if I get all these blog placements, what is that going to yield me? Like, what result are you looking for? If you don't have any type, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know what you're going out for, you'll never be satisfied with the result, because your expectation is, I want to be at the Grammys or I want to be at Billboard. And it could have been, hey, we saw a marginal increase across 6 months. You released, you saw 120% internet traffic growth. You know, like I used to do a lot of consulting for independent artists, and I transitioned, and I'm like, people need to kind of be at a certain level to understand, because I had people with 14 monthly listeners moving to 500, and they're like, man, your artists are touring. I'm like, I got you in 2 months from 14 monthly listeners to 500. That's exponential growth. If we duplicate that over the course of the next 2, 3, 5 years, you're looking at a full-time career, but people want that instantaneous success. So I think there's a ton of issues. I think publicity is a scam in general. It's like, you don't need it until you need it. Like even currently, Scotty's talking about hiring a publicist right now. We were in People magazine last week. We were in, you know what I'm saying? Like we were in InStyle right now. We were on the Emmys red carpet. We don't really need a publicist. Like I'm intaking all of the interviews, but now everybody's hitting us up, you know? So it's like, it's a catch-22, same with labels. You don't need them until they need you. And then you don't want them. It's like, I think people like, artists want the fast track. They want the swipe. Like if I only had money, I'd be there. No, that's not true. Like Joyner got lucky, but again, I have a bunch of artists in my wake, not even my wake, they ruined their own career, that had money, didn't do anything with it. And they're just now, I'm assuming, upset that I'm successful now. But it's like, you have to have an understanding of the market in order for even the money to make sense. If you overwater a plant, it'll die. And that's what money is to a new rapper.
Yeah, no, and Similar experiences. I think there's criticism to go all around and lessons to be learned for everyone here. Whether you, I think it's silly to take sides, but this is the internet, and there are so many people who were vehemently defending Karen at one point who have now either shut their mouths or transitioned over to the Joyner Lucas cult end of this debate. And it's not even a debate, it's a lesson. It's wow, look what both of you created. Granted, only one of them lost a bunch of money, but, and you know, that's terrible to see. But to pick up on what you were doing, so I used to middleman these radio packages, right? I don't do it anymore, mostly because it's just a pain in the ass for very little money. I mean, I'm not talking 55,000. I'm talking under $200 for an internet radio campaign that did include some satellite and terrestrial, but it was entirely dependent on the song. Granted, some of that the internet radio stations do kind of automate, so you can, if you have control or some kind of great relationship with those people, and it was through somebody that I knew personally, so I would just offer that as an upsell for, you know, what was the core of my business as a DJ, as a producer. And I remember there was one guy who purchased the service, and I think I made like $50 commission just to explain everything, meet him in person. It just wasn't worth it. You know, PR is not worth it. So I guess this is why Karen Civil upcharges so much. I get it. That's all she can really do. So that's what I did. And it was one of those things where the campaign would run until you met a certain threshold of guaranteed spins. Anyway, his song was an exceptional case. It did really well. And the reason I felt all right about offering the service was because they did send an airplay report. They sent 4, or however many it took. Generally, it was around 4, with all of the call numbers for every single station, whether it was internet, terrestrial, or satellite. So I would send that to the artist and say, here, look, these are the numbers of spins each station is giving you to keep them updated. Do you think any single one of those artists actually reached out to those stations? Not a single one. And this is the worst part. This person, I think it was a 400 play threshold. He got 1,100 because he had a major feature. I'm not going to say who it was. It's an artist that's still relevant now. He had a major feature, and so the stations picked it up, and they supported the record. So I'm telling them, like, yo, this is amazing. Look, 1,100 spins in a month on all these various stations. Here are their call numbers. I don't hear anything back from them, and then I hear from my booking manager that he's out there talking bad about me, saying, oh, that campaign wasn't effective. What do you mean the campaign wasn't effective? You got 4 times what you were promised, and you didn't do anything. You dropped the ball. And so when I was listening to the Karen Civil, Joyner Lucas conversation, there were a couple things that really stuck out to me. And it goes back to what you were saying, Aaron. What is an artist's goal when they purchase PR? And I think, unfortunately, it's non-existent. It's a vague goal. You don't go into a PR situation saying, I want to grow my, like as the example you gave, I want to grow my monthly listenership on this platform by this percentage. I want to target this demographic in this region with this particular type of press. It's just, I want to be big. I want to be famous, throw fire on my fuel, throw gas on my flame, stuff like that. Just these empty platitudes that hint at success. And I heard Joyner say a bunch of stuff that was just all too familiar. Granted, he was working with a lot of money, and that's what really scares me and makes me sad about the situation, because you hate to see it happen. But one quote from the conversation as I was listening, he said, my back was against the wall, ... I was waiting for Karen to save me. He really used the term save me in terms of, okay, that's not how you talk about PR. That's how you talk about an EMT. PR agents don't save you. And that's a problem. And something that I feel like the unsung hero of all of this, and I don't know if you caught him saying this, Dame, Whack 100 was moderating this whole panel. And it descended into chaos. There were like 20 voices at one point, everyone just screaming at each other. But I feel like Whack 100 was the voice of reason in all of this. And at one point, I know, right? And at one point, you heard him say, and tell me if you heard him say this, Dame, it was kind of under his breath, like an aside, but Whack 100 said 60,000 wouldn't make a career.
Yeah, when you get in these rooms, though, there's different games to play, right? Like Whack plays a different game with his artists, right? Like he doesn't play the game that I played. Like he didn't play like the scratch claw, independent, fan by fan. Like Whack is still kind of, I mean, he understands the new music industry, but he still plays radio. He still takes big swings and needs big budgets. So that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand. Even with people that have been in the game for a long time, like you got to understand the game they're playing so you can receive their information the right way when they say things, right? Because the money that he's talking about, we started at Funk Volume. I started with less than 20,000. Like he would probably tell me like, you can't do shit with 20,000. I'm like, well, we built a pretty sizable business starting from 20,000 and just bootstrapping and, building over time. He doesn't know anything about that. That's not to put him down. That's just not the lane. That's not the game that he plays. But with Joyner, so there's a lot of lessons learned from this Joyner situation. Like you said, his back was against the wall. Like you can't really operate out of desperation. You're going to make terrible decisions. Right? Like a lot of times, this is just in general, like when you're going through something and you're feeling bad about things, like he had a son on the way, his career wasn't popping. You're like, so you want to do everything that you can to stop that feeling as quick as you can. And he felt like taking a swing and purchasing Karen's services was going to get him out of that place. But like time and time again, when you make decisions out of desperation or out of that moment, you're just trying to stop that feeling as quick as possible. You're going to make another stupid decision. And the services that she was providing was well beyond PR, what she was saying. I don't think she knew what she was doing. I don't know if it was malicious, but she may have seen other people doing something similar. She was like, well, I'm Karen Civil. Like my brand is popping. I can probably do the same thing for artists. Let me try.
What did you feel like wasn't in line with PR that she offered?
Well, she said that she was going to get show openings. That's not PR. I mean,
I consider that PR though. Because if I can get you to open for Nas, now I can take that to a bigger publication and say, so like, I think that like some PR people do like.
Will get you show openings?
For sure.
Like, I've never seen that. And I've never seen a PR agent, like I've never leaned on a PR agent to get me a booking agent, to help me acquire a booking agent. Like
that part was weird to me. And I was like, I wonder if she's saying that because of the publicity, that's going to lead to a booking agent. Cause I do see that, but I do agree. I think the booking agent component was weird, especially if you don't have the numbers to match, which is the whole thing. If you're that small of an artist, none of this stuff is going to happen for you. Why would if you're a tiny artist, why would I book you if you don't have fans? Do you know what I'm saying? Like none of this, he wasn't, it doesn't make, you're right. His desperation doesn't make sense because none of this matches. Like you're not there yet.
How small was he at this point though? What year was this?
7 years ago. So I'm putting this at like 2014, 15.
Okay. I think what's funny too is that when he just started releasing a bunch of content, that's when things went crazy for him.
Right.
And he could have done that the whole time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so for artists, if you have 60,000 to spend, there's nothing that I can think of where you can spend a one-time 60,000 and expect things to move quickly. Like things just don't move that quickly. Spread that 60,000 out. And he didn't have to. Well, maybe she wanted him to pay everything up front. That's just not normal. Like you don't pay for 6 months of services up front. If somebody's
that desperation.
Yeah. If somebody's suggesting that you do that, that to me is a red flag.
And the list too. I mean, seriously, I looked at that memo and I wanted to cry because How? Well, one, blog placements aren't worth even a fraction of. Well, maybe back then they were. I don't know, but I feel like.
Not even then.
But I
I
would
mean,
say, like I had great relationships with some pretty amazing blogs back then, and it was all from just me reaching out to them personally and trying to offer exclusivity and I thought I was getting the long end of the stick in those situations, but it goes back to it. Like, had I been lazy, I could have paid someone else, $500 a month to do that for me. But I wanted to learn how to do it myself. And in a sense, my back was against the wall too, because I didn't have any income and no investments. So it's like, how am I going to get this music out there? Blogs, okay, cool. Hey, let me try to find an in on social media. Let me connect with these writers. Let me actually form relationships with them where they recognize my name, and I'm contacting them at some degree of regularity. And that worked. And I mean, I think that still, the human connection element still works today. I think it would have been far more effective than if I had paid some intermediary to do all that for me, because they have a relationship with the middle person, not with me. So when it comes time for the next drop, I got to pay the middle person again. I can't just go directly to the blogger and say, hey, I'm excited about this project. What do you think? Can you present this? I'll give it to you exclusively first. That kind of thing. You can't do that when you have someone in between you and that person. So, but all the other items, everything about this was vague. It seemed like what Joyner wanted was vague and what Karen was offering was vague. The only thing that wasn't vague was the 55K.
You have to, in any new service or relationship, you have to establish expectations up front. Expectations for what the service is going to be, and expectations for how you're going to communicate going forward, and how often you're going to communicate. Because that was like one of the biggest problems too. Joyner said when he tried to reach back out to her, like she was on vacation. So it seemed like to him, as soon as she got the 55,000, she was ghost. Right? Like with people that I've worked with in the past, we established a method of, or just kind of a timeline for communication, or we have a weekly meeting so we can check in and see what was done. Right. So with the marketing firm that I work with, we meet every Thursday at 10:30 to talk about what they did in the past week and what's on the agenda for them next week. So and maybe Karen was new to this, so she didn't understand like how you're supposed to, or how you should communicate with artists, because he's looking at it from a totally different perspective. Like this is his last money. Like this is his last attempt at trying to make something happen. Whereas she might have like 20 other clients or however many clients, so it's a terrible communication, and just no expectations.
And no transparency, nothing.
I think that sometimes, go ahead.
My bad. I just think this whole conversation could have been eliminated before it even started if there had been transparency. I mean, I think if Joyner had come with very clear expectations and she, as you said, Aaron, first month she didn't deliver, I'm out. But also, if she had just said, all right, let me just shut you up quick. I'm going to send you an itemized list of everything I paid for. And I'm going to send, because this is the least you can do. If someone gives me $12,000, and I think it was probably more than 12,000 because she didn't say it was exactly 12,000. I heard something in her voice that made me think maybe it was more like 15, 20. I don't know. If someone's paying me that amount of money, I'm going to take an hour out of my day to list, this is what I paid for. Here's a link to every single blog that published you. Here's a link to every single event that I submitted you to. And here's feedback. Here's this, here's that. That would have shut them up. I mean, because maybe that was it. It was just like I didn't know what info he gave her. I didn't know what his EPK was like. I didn't know what music he was making at the time. Maybe that feedback would have been valuable, not worth 60,000, but that was her choice to take the money, and it was clearly the wrong choice. But this could have ended. This is 7 years in the making. This could have ended a long time ago.
I think a lot of times the publicists too get caught up on that clout. So it's like, of course, with Nipsey, he's moving the buck forward for himself. He launched $1,000 album, or he sold 100 albums, made $100,000. Like, this man's a thinker. He's moving. That story writes itself. I still don't understand why artists need publicists. If you're a celebrity, I get it, because a lot of times the publicist, again, will take the place of a manager in answering all of these like emails as far as publicity, and then sometimes getting you red carpet stuff. But like, aside from like award season, I still don't understand why artists need publicists. So I think like, she probably was like, oh yeah, I'll send this to my people. And they were probably like, why would we post about this? You know what I'm saying? So now she's stuck. And then she's like, well, they don't want to post about it. He paid me whatever. Like, I could easily see that happening. Like you said, like the middleman, like my team in-house runs publicity for all of our artists. We don't even call it publicity because we function as a marketing firm and label services. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're texting the guys from Lyrical Lemonade. We're texting the guys from Respect Mag. Why? Because that's the level our artists are at. That's the fans they want to talk to. But also, blogs don't even really do much. Like, as far, even back then, you may get an uptick for a minute. Like, I remember when Pigeons and Planes was everything. I had an artist land on Pigeons and Planes. We went up for a month and then it was back down. If you don't have something to like keep the buck moving forward as an artist, it really doesn't matter if you land on these things. And that's what I think his expectations were. I'm going to be catapulted into celebrity if I spend $60,000, which is ignorant. But I think that's what I'm saying. He should have hired like somebody, and you don't know what you don't know. But again, artists have to stop blaming people for their ignorance. I don't know what Karen did, so I can't on her. I'm not defending her, because I think that there's got to be a ton more transparency, especially if you have a young artist. There's got to be, some sort of. But then my thought process is also, if this is true, why didn't you sue her? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is like, if you have like the contract that y'all signed, you feel like the services weren't delivered. If you can spend $60,000, you should also be lawyered up. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first time we had a publicist that one of my artists, he spent $3,000. It was supposed to be $3,000 a month. First month, I'm talking about, dude was hitting us until we paid nonstop. Week one, he got one blog post, nothing after that. So I'm calling him every week. He doesn't pick up. I hit my lawyer immediately. I'm like, what can we do? He's like, man, this is really a small claims court thing. By the time you get through with it, you're not going to have any money. Just let it go, but don't pay him again. So I was like, cool. But that was for $3,000. We also had a lawyer in place that I could call right away. So I think that there's like a lot of things that are missing. And same thing, like we function as a digital marketing firm. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we're meeting with all of our clients, right? And it's an hour-long meeting. We tell everybody, we do not work miracles. We are actually developing a business. It's going to take 3 months before you see anything, but we also only work with a certain type of people. There's plenty of people. I'm talking about every day in my DMs offering money. I'm like, that you don't have anything that I can take to market, so I'm not going to take your money. So I think there's a lot of things going. There's a lack of integrity on one side. There's a lack of understanding. There's that desperation. It's going to get you stuck if you're trying too hard. Like, you have to know that you're the value. If you walk into any room expecting the other person to give you more than you have, you're already at a loss. I don't walk into any room thinking that they have more than me. And if they do, then I'm like, I'm going to sit in the back and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to wait until it's my time. But if I walk into the room with money, not only do I have value outside of my money, I have a plan, and I know that we're going to keep this moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, Own Network approached us earlier this year to put one of my artists on a brand new TV show. They signed on, whatever, we immediately started, like, I'm talking about within 3 weeks, started filming because the show was already greenlit. We had already, like, the producers were like, well, do y'all know what y'all are going to do this year? This show is going to blow X, Y, and Z. I'm like, here's our plan for the year. Whether this show comes out or not, we're going to be successful. And they were like, oh, okay, like, that's a good plan, but just know this show is going to be huge. Long story short, we filmed all but the last episode, and the show went completely defunct. The other talent, devastated. My artist, Cool. We called back the shows that we had told them we were unavailable for during those dates. We were immediately on the, like, there was no loss. Like, cool. A show on OWN network would have been great, right? Amazing. But there's nothing outside of our team that's giving us more than the team is giving us, you know? And I think that's the issue. People are looking for somebody to give them a leg up. And people think, well, once I get to another level, I'll get that leg up. No, like your leg up, you have to always be your own foundation. And then from there, everything else is just icing on it.
Yeah.
So we just need Erin to put her arm around us.
You need a long-term plan. Like, I think artists are so short-sighted that, you know, they think one thing is going to put them on. It's like, well, what if that one thing doesn't happen? Or what if that one thing does happen? Like, what after that? There is an element to this because Erin, you're right. Like, if she took $60,000 and do anything, you can sue. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. Like, Joyner is an internet cat, though. Like, he knows how to milk the internet. So I wonder how much of this is him just kind of taking advantage to put his name out there, his brand out there, to get promotion for his app, because he also went after Steve Stout shortly after this. And I'm not a fan of Steve or United Masters, but his complaint about what Steve did is pretty weak. But I think he was just kind of building on, you know, since he was getting so much attention for this Karen stuff, he was just kind of layered that on top too, because what he was saying that Steve did was just kind of stop him from using the words, because he has an app that I think the app is for artists to maybe write down, to submit split sheets, and basically he calls it a label in your pocket, and that's what Steve, I think, has trademarked those words. And Steve sent some letter to him saying that, hey, you can't no longer use those words because I have trademarked, you know, a record label in your pocket. Even though that sounds lame as shit and you can't put a record label in your pocket, I don't know why you would want to use that anyway. Like, that's just his grievance with Steve. So I think it's a much weaker grievance than he has with Karen. But Joyner knows the internet. Like, it's like Hobson. Like, they know the internet. So they know that they're taking advantage of this time. And I wonder how much of that is this. Because Joyner was like, if you listen to a verse that he put on Jaren's song, and just the things that he says about Karen, he acts real tough, and he says he's going to do all these things. But then on this call, he was passionate. But when he was called out about being passionate, he was kind of respectful to Karen. He was very respectful. It wasn't the same huffing and puffing that was on the song, just like Hobson. If you listen to Illmind 8, you know, you would think that Hobson's like this big, bad, tough person. And I'm not even that tough of a cat. Like, I'm not violent or anything, but I'll wipe the floor with Hobson. Like, Hobson's he's a frail person. Like, he's not tough. So these guys use the internet to kind of build this image, build this story. They know what they're doing. So they're creating this story. And I wonder, like, how much of it is that. There's so much going on in this to, like, really strip it down to, like, what the truth is tough, because these guys these guys, they're internet guys. They know how to get these views going. So at the end of the day,
it's also tough on the other side too, because even in some of the rooms I was in, people were like defending Karen, or they're like, well, I'm not going to defend her, but I can't say anything bad about her because she did this, this, and this for me. And I'm like, this is trash. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and then some people were like, well, we've all done dirt. And I'm like, I'm never claiming that.
No, we haven't.
My integrity is clean. That's why it took me so long in the industry. Yeah. I would rather let somebody, I give people money when they try. I would rather let me take a temporary L, knowing that you're going to be satisfied in that moment, just like the other artists that I have left. They're in the same place and I've continued to elevate. If the issue was me, then you would know it, right? So wow. I'm like, when people started saying that, I was like, y'all done some dirty stuff with her. So, and again, I'm not commenting on her. I don't know her personally. I'm not choosing a side, but I think it's a slippery slope on both sides. Like you said, this internet clout, he's trying to launch an app. I'm looking at, I did see that. And I'm like, oh, he's trying to rally behind the indies, even though he's never really had to, at least for the last 10 years, do the real indie grind. If you got $500,000, you're not really grinding like an indie. You've been entitled because you feel like you have something, you know, shout out to him for making it. I'm not taking anything away from that dude. But I think on the other side, it's a slippery slope because it's like, yo, like nobody is calling anybody out for real, which I don't need to happen. But I just think I think this stuff is weird. If somebody was saying that I was fraudulent, I would not be getting in a clubhouse room with them. Again, I would hit my lawyer and I'd say, this is libel. And my lawyer would send a cease and desist. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, the semantics are so dumb to me. Like, it makes it seem like they're both trying to do something. Now, I know that's a personality type, but I'm way more interested in doing good business than talking to people about their opinion about what I'm doing on Clubhouse.
I really want to pick up on this. We're like super late. And
it's
I know it's cool to you because you're not editing the podcast, but
I mean, how much edit? I mean, it's just all right, just 5 more minutes because I don't
actually do. Okay,
because I don't. I mean, do you edit the pot? Like, does it? I mean, you put stuff on the beginning and the end. Like, it doesn't matter what goes in the middle pane. Like, it's just longer, right?
I gotta cut it down so that you know what happens with the Libsyn account. But anyway,
okay. But anyway, because I lost my train of thought. So maybe we can pick up on it next week. I forgot what I was going to, but I mean, I sympathize. But if there's a clubhouse room that's entitled, you know, Dame is shady, I'm going to jump in there. Like, that's just me though. Like, cause I feel like I've had great intentions my entire life. Like, I've never done anything like intentionally shady. Like, so. But yeah, I think there's theatrics more so on Joyner's side because I see a lot of Hobson in him. So maybe it hits different for me because I've seen some of the games that were played, you know, especially with somebody that has a platform versus somebody that, you know, obviously I don't have that much of a platform. So they're able to wield that power because they have fans that are automatically going to believe them because they like their music. It sounds stupid, but that's just what it is. Like, you like somebody's music. So I believe everything that you say. That makes no sense, but we can pick up on it next week so that, yeah. But anyway,
yeah.
But long story short, do not pay $60,000 for anything. If you're going to purchase any type of service, don't pay up front. None of the independent artists should be thinking about PR. PR should be the last thing on your mind. Establish expectations and anything else.
Yeah, I think the real conspiracy here is Clubhouse was being counted out until this conversation happened. So maybe there's some Clubhouse payola going on. I don't know.
Oh, you're throwing that into the mix. I doubt it.
I like that conspiracy theory. I doubt it too, but I like it though.
I doubt it.
Hey, you never know.
I just think that it sucks that Black folks be putting ourselves out here like there's nobody else on Clubhouse that are airing out drama like this, and yeah, I just think that it sucks. I'll find out about the Payola stuff. You know, I went to business school with the founder or one of the founders of Clubhouse. So I can at least put that to rest, Payne. I don't think that it's happening.
Yeah, now see if he's writing checks to Karen and Joyner. That would be a smart move because Clubhouse is way up now.
Check it, like you should tap in with Fadia and see what's up.
I don't know Fadia personally. Do you know her?
I don't. On the business tip, we've been in some email threads together, but she don't know me, so I don't know her.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't think that's happening. And
I'm joking. I'm no disrespect to Clubhouse. I'm not being serious.
But
I haven't. It could be aliens. I don't know.
I haven't tapped into Clubhouse since, it's probably been months. There used to be so much music rooms and stuff like that. I think people just figured they finally realized that they were wasting a lot of time and it wasn't helping them. So, but I guess it's the place to air out drama.
The whole internet is a place to air out drama. That's why this stuff happens, and that's why it grows legs. Once again, appreciate you tuning in. Music Entrepreneur Club sessions are free Mondays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dame, tell them how to get alerted every time we go live.
If you want a text alert before we go live, just text MEC to 844-206-7800 and you'll get a text right before we go live. Yeah, our sessions have been super dope. And Erin's going to be hosting her first session on October 4th. She has an art director joining. You want to fill it in then on who that person is, Erin?
Yes, Luis Panada. He is phenomenal. He works with A3C, Tiana Taylor, One Music Fest. Started out as my homie making free flyers for everybody in the city. And now he's got the keys to the city. So we're just going to talk about relationship building and how unlikely relationships and treating people well in the industry can lead to your wildest dreams. So don't discount the relationships.
Oh, I got to close it out. All right. Appreciate you tuning in. Peace, everyone.
Peace.